It's been a long 8 months. Hello, everybody. I'm Antoine Joy 101. Welcome to the 2026 season. Right now, it's just me. I'll be joined shortly by Danny V and Pig Bear, my co-hosts. In the meantime, we're getting things started. You can take a look at new branding for the channel as a whole. You've seen that. We've got a lot coming your way that we'll talk about shortly. But for now, I want to be the first to say welcome to the 2026 college football season. As I am now joined by Danny V. Say hello to the folks at home.
Hello, hello.
And we're here. We'll be joined by Pig Bear shortly, but we might as well get things underway. Why don't we? It's 2026. It's college football. We're back. As we have a mascot mashup, just to prime the pumps here. Oh my goodness, it's been so long since I've seen mascot mashup. As the Oregon Duck gets onto the motorcycle to lead out the other Oregon Ducks. And that brings us a good segue to talk about where we left off the 2025 National Championship game. We saw Oregon triumphing over Louisville. They're the Cardinals. And that brings us to the headlines, everything that's happened since that national championship. Let's get things started. Notre Dame is the big buzzworthy topic right now. Not only did they land the top transfer prospect in Cal Dirks out of Texas Tech, but also UCF coach Dwight Russell now coaching the Irish. This made Notre Dame a team to watch out for. Oklahoma State surprised everybody by firing coach Brad Morton. He's that guy who led them to 3 straight Big 12 championship seasons and 3 straight 10-win seasons in BCS appearances. But he got fired last season after a disappointing campaign. Out comes Brad Morton. In comes the rhyming Sean Horton from ACC champ South Carolina to be the new head coach. Meanwhile, Brad Morton moving to Tennessee after the surprise firing at OKSU. Oregon, unsurprisingly, as reigning national champs, are the top of the power rankings. They're the favorites to win the national championship this season. Nevada and Texas State are the best teams in the poll for non-power teams, but we can explain why that title might be changing with a new kid on the block. After ditching them last season, the Big 12 is reintroducing divisions this season. We'll be talking about that as well as other conferences and other big conference news. The American underwent a complete overhaul of membership, taking the best of the SoCon. And as for our slate coming up, Florida State and Wake Forest are set to play the first ever college football game in South America as they'll play a Week 0 game in Rio. We'll talk more about that later on in the show. In the meantime, how are we doing, Danny?
Good. I mean, it's been a lot since the last time we have talked to the folks at home, so it's definitely been a good while. But yeah, I'm happy to get 2Q started again after all the amount of effort we put into this.
Yeah, we were working hard in the off season, getting everything as good as we can get it. As welcome to the call, Pig Bear. How are you doing, Pig Bear?
Good. Just got out of the shower. Just making sure.
Perfect. We just finished headlines. You'll hear all about it as we move on. Let's start with who won't be joining us this season. Sorry, I heard a train horn. Who won't be joining us?
I love the dances.
We have quite a few big names leaving to the NFL. Tyrell Thomas, of course, 2024 Heisman winner, moving up to the NFL, as is Oregon's own running back Kenneth Graham, who won a natty last season. Jason Hancock, running back out of Penn State. Austin Trooper, the quarterback for Alabama. Daniel Anderson, running back for Oklahoma. Hunter Bouchard, the QB for Georgia Tech. Joe Rivera, the running back for Texas. Defensive back Daryl Shin out of Nebraska. And Tony Moore, Clemson's veteran QB, are among the names moving out of college football after last season. We've got a couple names to keep an eye on returning. Dexter Robertson out of Texas State. We thought he was going to transfer, but he's sticking around at Texas State at least for one more year. Where's his destination afterwards? Is it the draft? Is it another school? Could it be at Texas State once again? We'll have to see. Meanwhile, Daniel Gerardo, Heisman winner last season, Continuing a bit of a trend, we've seen Heisman winners sticking around one more year. See Andrew Burnett in 2023-24, and Tyrell Thomas last season. Cole Lefebvre, keep an eye out for him. He might be one of the best running backs in the nation out of Arizona State. He's coming back for his senior year. Logan Martin Garcia, the big new freshman on the board. I did send the script. It was earlier.
Oh, trying to find it. I found it. My bad.
All right. Logan Martin Garcia, he's got a lot more experience to gain after last year's ACC runner-up disappointment for the Hurricanes. David Richardson coming back at Texas might be the most experienced QB in the nation. But who might be the most skilled is on that Louisville sideline. A.J. Carpenter came back for his senior season after being a Heisman finalist. And Geno Armstrong, even after a tough campaign at Oklahoma State, they're sticking with him as the QB moving forward. Those are some of the big names. But now it's time for the very interesting stuff. The people moving around, the movers and shakers. Let's start on the coaching end. One of the big highlights in coaching, I'll be delivering them as we go along. Robert Kelly, former Rice head coach. You remember him from that near undefeated season in 2024. He's headed to Happy Valley. Penn State's coach Albert Tillman got hired in the NFL, and Robert Kelly out of Rice will be Penn State's new coach in 2026. Notre Dame, bringing in Dwight Russell out of UCF. He's the guy who led UCF to an undefeated season in 2023, and it's kept them one of the contenders in the Big East. He's going to South Bend to lead Cal Dirks and the Irish. Brad Morton, after being fired out of nowhere by Oklahoma State, is now at Tennessee. Oklahoma State taking on South Carolina's Sean Horton. Funny, they got a guy whose name rhymed. Meanwhile, South Carolina promoting defensive coordinator Shane Denholm to new head coach. Brian Culp, UMass's head coach these past few seasons, led them to an 11-win season back in 2022, as well as that American Conference performance last season. He's going to Maryland to coach the Terrapins. Ole Miss coach Chad Harrell heads north to Columbia to coach the Missouri Tigers. Lester Richardson moving from Champaign, Illinois to Houston, Texas to coach the Cougars. Just gonna find it for a second. Meanwhile, Illinois taking a gamble on Coastal Carolina's David Kirkpatrick at head coach. Quarterback Bart Riley, retiring from the NFL and will take up a head coaching gig at his alma mater in UAB. Northwestern State's Darren Moon, one of the big feel-good stories in coaching last season. He's going to Nebraska. He's going to be the new Cornhusker head coach, and there's a lot of optimism around that. After the vacancy in Oxford, Ole Miss hiring Memphis's Mike Watson as the new head coach. Purdue, one of two other Big Ten schools to add new coaches. South Dakota State's Joseph Allen is heading to West Lafayette, whereas Cal's Terry Lincoln is moving to Iowa City to take over for legendary Iowa coach Christopher Campbell, who retired last season. In that list of names, anyone strike your fancy, Danny? Who do you think is going to improve the most from their new head coach position?
I didn't think the new head coach of UAB, because while UAB has been a really good program over the last few years, they still weren't able to get over the metaphorical hump, whether that was against a really good like UCF, Louisville, Memphis, Cincy, et cetera, that was in the group, or in nowadays with Kennesaw State and Charlotte and other teams who kind of took their spot, and Texas State as well. So I definitely do think that now with this new head coach that UAB has, it's starting to look like that they may have now a missing piece to try and finally get to the top of the Conference USA.
UAB has not had over a 10-win season since 2011. They actually had 3 in 2008, 2010, and 2011. The quarterback for those 4 seasons in which those happened, that was Bart Riley. He was QB at that time. He got a Heisman finalist twice in that stint in 2008 and 2011. Pig Bear, who do you think is going to be the biggest difference maker on the sidelines through these headlines?
going to Tennessee is going to be huge for the Volunteers. He had a great run at Oklahoma State, and I just think going in, he's going to hit the ground running in the SEC East with Tennessee.
If we're talking specifically just the position of coach, who's going to make the biggest splash, keep an eye out for Darren Moon. That recruiting class he's brought in is very good. Nebraska is a team on the rise. They had a bounce back season last year after a bunch of disappointing campaigns, and now that they have this piece, I expect them to make a big jump next year. I'm going to move now to the transfer portal. We had a lot of movement here. Keep an eye on two schools, namely South Carolina and Oklahoma State. South Carolina had a bunch of transfers. In fact, on our highlights, they have 4. But the big transfer, Cal Dirks, Texas Tech quarterback. He was a Heisman finalist last season. You saw him in his game against Kansas. He's going to Notre Dame. Dwight Russell was able to lure him. He mentioned entering the transfer portal that he had a couple options. Notre Dame ended up being the winning one. Meanwhile, Liam Lambert, he was the quarterback for Notre Dame last season. He's got a new gig up in rival East Lansing. He's going to Michigan State. Top cornerback in the transfer portal, Jervon Day, the sophomore out of Georgia Tech, is moving to Happy Valley to take on a gig in Penn State. Isaiah Whaley, a sophomore out of Marshall, the receiver, is going to Michigan State. He'll be catching passes from Liam Lambert. I said 4. It's actually 5 down here. Matthias Dries Jr. out of South Carolina, moving up to Michigan. John Quay Lopez, a senior out of UConn, moving. The receiver is going to Miami. Another receiver, Caleb Hicks, South Carolina, moving to Notre Dame. Top offensive lineman on the board, Dan Escordia, out of South Carolina. He's going with his old head coach to Oklahoma State, as will be defensive back B.J. Henry, making the same transition. South Carolina's QB, Lawrence Torres, is moving from South Carolina to LSU. Meanwhile, Evan Frias will be moving from LSU to USC. Hudson Slayton, junior linebacker out of Boise State, will be taking up a new spot at Arkansas. Paul McDonald, QB out of Delaware, led that team to an American Conference Championship. He'll be taking the spot at Tennessee for his senior year. Quarterback sophomore QB Braden Page out of East Carolina will be heading to Whiskey to play for the Badgers. Noah Barnes, receiver from Oklahoma State, the junior, is a volunteer. He is joining his old head coach in Knoxville. Dwayne Manning, the QB of FAU last season, led them to the Sun Belt title. He's going to Iowa City to play for the Hawkeyes. Anthony Rolap, QB for Arkansas. He'll be going to Boston College next season for his junior year. And Nolan Ramirez, QB out of Duke, the junior, is going to Oklahoma. Much like the previous category, which of these transfers do you think is going to have the biggest impact next season, Danny?
I really like Wisconsin transfer to Tennessee. I mean, going from Big Ten champions to now a team that looks like they might have a good chance of possibly making a run to the SEC. I mean, granted, it's in a really tough East Division with Georgia, Alabama, Florida, and Auburn as well to an extent, but Tennessee now has some firepower to them. They might be a little sneaky dog in the
Keep
SEC.
an eye for Paul McDonald. Pig Bear, who do you think is making the biggest transfer or biggest splash of any of these transfers?
Cal Dirks. He came to win a national championship at Notre Dame. That's what it is. Simple.
This Notre Dame team has had a major swing in personnel with a head coach, a quarterback, and this is a talented head coach who has been proven the past few seasons. This is a talented quarterback who was a Heisman finalist last year. If this team doesn't at least finish in the top 25, it'll be an embarrassment, I think, for how much effort has been going in. Keep an eye out for Caleb Hicks Jr. as well, the transfer from South Carolina to Notre Dame. He'll be the one catching passes from Dirks, most likely, moving forward. We're going to actually see him pretty soon on this list. We're going to move here now to our conference schedules. We're going to be looking through these relatively quickly. Danny will be posting them on the server. We actually have a link now in the description for 2KU Discord server, freshly renovated for the new season. Also, congratulations on 2KU. This is season 5.
Or was it season 6?
It'd be
It is
season 5 of this show, at least.
Yeah.
And on this channel.
Hey, one more, we'll be at 7.
We're getting things started. I have the ACC thing on screen. If you can, Danny, just post those in scores and schedules as we put them in.
Yeah.
And I guess in DMs as well wouldn't hurt. But as you can see on your screen right now, ACC, same as it was last season.
Same as it ever was.
Same as it ever was.
Letting the days go by.
This is not my beautiful house.
It's not my beautiful wife.
We'll be talking about our predictions later. But anything catch your eye on this schedule right now, Danny?
Yeah, I'm just really liking the good amount of parity. There's also a fun week 0 matchup, but also I'm seeing a lot of teams who got easier sides, some teams who got tougher sides, but at least we're going to have some fun, especially with some coastal chaos.
I think a team to keep an eye out definitely will be Clemson. Clemson has probably some of the biggest tests on the schedule this season, namely with that game against Georgia. They have a road game against Georgia Tech. They host Notre Dame as well. Keep an eye on that final game, though. That has been the death trap for Clemson these past few seasons. It's been a road match against an ACC team that they should beat. It happened with Duke in 2023. It happened a bunch of times in 2024. It happened with South Carolina last season. But also there's some trap games potentially with Maryland and Boston College. I think both those teams are going to be pretty good. Pig Bear, anything catch your eye on this schedule?
For a sneaky good game that actually might have some meaning, give me that Week 7 matchup in Orlando between Dave Show and obviously, one being for the Coastal, one being for the Atlantic. But I just believe that it is possible that we are sitting in Week 7 and State and Dave Show are like live in the ACC title race.
I could see that. I'm not too keen on NC State. I think kindly they're going to get eaten alive by this ACC Atlantic right now because Florida State's on the bounce back. BC and Maryland look to be solid, and of course you have Clemson as the favorites right now.
Well, to be fair, that's State's real big cross-divisional game. If you look at their schedule, they only play one conference game up to that point. That's against Boston College, so
that's potentially true. You do have a road matchup against USF and a neutral site game against Notre Dame in Charlotte.
So those aren't tough. Well. Those aren't easy. Those aren't easy. Correction.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be difficult. I think keep an eye out for Georgia Tech. That Week 5 game against Miami might be for the conference, or at the very least for the division. That might be a scary thing. Virginia Tech could be on the bounce back. Remember when they were as dominant as they were in the ACC? They might have a schedule that'll keep them in contention once again. And if it doesn't pan out for them, Duke might be undefeated entering that bye. They don't have many difficult games ahead of them. The toughest one is that road game against Virginia Tech before that bye. They play Miami at home. They play Georgia Tech at home. Duke may be a sneaky contender. Keep an eye out for the Blue Devils. All right, I'm going to move.
We have a road game at South Carolina, but we don't know how good South Carolina's going to be after they got raided by the portal.
Yeah, I believe they finished in the power rankings 76th. Or they're starting 76th in the power rankings. Doesn't look great for South Carolina. It's kind of a how good is this team going to be because you have that Texas A&M game as well. We're going to move now quickly to the American.
Well, they don't have an easy matchup Week 1 either. So yeah. Just felt like get that one in there.
Or not Texas A&M. That was App State. Yeah. To the American Athletic Conference. Completely redone, or at least mostly redone. They shed quite a few members. In come new members from the SoCon. William & Mary, Western Carolina, the Citadel, Richmond, and Furman. All new members to the conference. UGF a full member once again. Delaware, UMass, Colgate, Holy Cross. That's the rest of the conference. And really, it feels like this is UMass and Delaware's conference to lose. UMass has some difficult games lined up. That road game against UCF is really going to be a test of, are they American good or are they good? We're going to see how that pans out. The same could be said for Delaware in their week 1 matchup against Pitt. Anything strike your fancy, Danny?
Yeah, I mean, also UMass in week 2, right before UCF, they host Temple. That's a Temple team that's always been sneaky in the Big East, who's always had a big contender. One I really like is week 8, and I believe that's also going to be a weekday game, but Western Carolina hosts Delaware. American champion, SoCon champion.
It kind of got lost in the shuffle because of the SoCon's woes, but both Richmond and Western Carolina finished with 10 wins.
And
William
Richmond
and Mary
goes
was
to
ranked
Delaware.
at a point too. So I mean, this SoCon was very top heavy, and you've got the good teams in the American right now.
Big Bear.
I'm really
Mr.
looking at
CSN,
Western.
Who you got?
I'm looking at Western Carolina here. They've got a pretty tough stretch with week 2 and week 3. Both road games, a huge rivalry with Appalachian State. They'll bring everybody, and they'll give their entire shot at App beat them close last year down in Cullowhee, and I'm glad to see this rivalry still remaining, which was a rivalry weekend, but Black Saturday up in Boone for that one.
Mm-hmm.
On a week 2 Black Saturday, quite early, like it is in real life this year.
Yeah.
And then at South Carolina, that might be a good measuring stick because they'll get to see a team who just played South Carolina the week before, literally. Can they go into Columbia? But I think it's very smooth sailing after those 2 ones, besides the Delaware game and like maybe William and Mary, because they have Richmond before that. So yeah, no, weeks 1 through 3 are a tough stretch for the Catamounts.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna now move from the American to the Big East. Keep an eye out. Red alert! Everyone, sound your sirens. It's an even year, which means Temple has a chance at winning this conference. But watch that really difficult out-of-conference schedule. At UMass, that should be a win, but at Miami, a team that's potentially a contender in the ACC, a team that played in the ACC Championship last season as well. You play at UCF, at West Virginia, at Pitt. Pitt is a team I think is going to bounce back big in this North Division. It's kind of a division that's wide open because West Virginia doesn't look as strong as they were last season. And really, it's a grab bag beyond that. I think Pitt's going to be very good. I think Temple is going to give the top teams a run for their money, but I think really that backyard brawl is going to be what decides the North. The South is going to be interesting. I think Louisville beat Texas A&M in College Station, so I think they have that on lock to start the season. And really, it's smooth sailing for them beyond that. They have some tough home games, namely Keg and Nails is hosting Cincinnati, hosting Pitt. They head to UCF week 11. That's going to be a game we watch. I want to circle back 2 weeks prior for Louisville, though, and that might be my big surprise in the Big East, and that's going to be South Florida. I like South Florida a lot. I think they can get through that early schedule. At least 3-1. The question mark might be Pitt. I think they might be a one-loss team at best, or a one-loss team at worst, entering that Louisville-Cincinnati stretch where they play both of them on the road. Potentially could be a 2-loss team hosting UCF. This might be the best chance that they have to beat Big Brother in Tampa Bay. They got that new stadium coming soon, too. They must be invigorated by that. The recruits might be on the way. Danny, who do you think? Or Danny, what games do you want to highlight?
Let's see, Louisville UCF. That's also going to be UCF space game, so that's going to be always a game to watch out for Louisville. Big time game right there. Let's see, I'm really loving West Virginia at Virginia Tech. That's going to be a fun one for me at least. I got a lot of rivalry games between Notre Dame and those northern teams like Syracuse and also Syracuse again. Week 2, Syracuse hosts West Virginia. That's a pretty early game for that rivalry, but that's going to be a fun one to watch.
The Schwartzwalder at stake here in week 2. I'm going to move us now to the Big Ten Conference.
Villanova's playing Newberry? Huh, that's cool.
How about that?
Here we go.
Big Ten Conference. Michigan playing Western Michigan in Germany. We'll talk about that later. Really, it's 4 teams that I think are ones to watch this season. Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, and Penn State. Sort of the traditional powers in the conference, especially recently. I think despite their win of the conference last season, I think Wisconsin is set to take a step back. Andrew Buchanan is gone. He moved to the NFL. That was the big piece that led the team a while back. And it just feels like the tides are turning. They have to play at Michigan, at Ohio State, and they play that Penn State game week 4. Should be mostly easy games to start. That Cal team, we're not exactly sure how good they're going to be. Penn State's going to have a big challenge week 2 at Washington. We'll see how good Penn State ends up being through that. They have a road matchup against Michigan. But that week 8 game against Ohio State is going to be very interesting. I think the Buckeyes look very strong through that first stretch. They might be undefeated entering that week 8 game. Their toughest games they do play on the road, namely Penn State and Michigan. Maybe spoiler potential in Indiana, but I'm not very gung-ho on the Hoosiers. The big game to watch, Michigan struggled hosting the Spartans last season. They go to East Lansing this year. And of course, you got to talk about the game. But there's a lot of teams that could be on the uptick here in the Big Ten. Purdue and Iowa come to mind. Both teams with new head coaches. Both teams who have performed quite well in the portal. I think that week 8 game against Purdue and Iowa is one to keep on the back burner. Danny?
Yeah, I mean, you got a lot of interesting matchups. I know one thing that's fun for like scheduling right here is Northwestern. They're playing their final games on the Lake in week 1 and 2. Then they have 4 weeks before welcoming the new stadium, week 7 against Iowa.
How about that? That
The
new
new
Ryan
Ryan
Field.
Field.
It looks gorgeous if you've ever seen any renders of it. And that Northwestern schedule, not the easiest thing in the world, but I think there is a possibility that they have one loss entering that Iowa game. That might be...
I think that's that's the correct take, honestly. I don't see them losing to Brown, Southern Illinois, Rice, or maybe Rice, maybe Chicago.
It's really a question of how many conference games can Chicago win, which I'm not confident. In fact, I have a prediction in front of me. I have them going 0-9 in conference play. They do win all their other games, though.
Yeah.
Also, first year Big Ten going to 9 conference games.
Yeah, that's something we should mention. No more 4-8. It's a 3-9 now. We now move to the Big 12. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Divisions. They were gone last season, but now they're back in a new structure. The Heartland Division, BYU, Houston, Kansas, Kansas State, Missouri, SMU, Texas, and Texas A&M. And that now joined by the Frontier Division, containing Baylor, Colorado, Iowa State, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, TCU, and Texas Tech. Right now, that top division, it looks to be a bit top-heavy right now. The favorites are looking to be those Texas schools, namely Texas and Texas A&M, but there is going to be quite a lot of fighting for that second spot. And a team I think could be on the uprise, maybe Missouri. Keep an eye out for them through their schedule. I think BYU might be on a slide. SMU, I'm not entirely sure. Looking through the schedule, though, Red River rivalry, always important to keep an eye on. And, of course, the Lone Star Showdown that ends the conference stretch. Watch that 3-horse race between Kansas, Kansas State, and Missouri whenever they play each other. Week 6 for Kansas K-State. Week 10 for K-State, Missouri. And that final weekend, Kansas and Missouri border showdown. Did somebody flatline?
Uh-oh.
I hope Danny's alive.
I'm here.
Okay, thank goodness.
Okay, I'm glad I wasn't the only one who heard that.
Yeah.
Breach.
It appears that they've added weird, wacky sound effects to Mascot Mashup.
They have.
I don't know if I'm a fan of wacky sound effects.
It's too whimsical.
Yeah.
Whimsical, too much fun.
It's too much for my bloodstream. I'm gonna get the shakes. I actually don't know if we can play that. I don't know if we're gonna get struck. However, we move back to the Frontier Division, and the Frontier Division looks to be a lot more competitive. Remember how good Iowa State was last season and how they were runner-up to Oklahoma? The top 3 teams in the conference are all in the same division now, or top 3 last season. Oklahoma, Iowa State, Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech is going to take a big dip this season. I think Oklahoma State's going to take a big rise this season, as will Nebraska. I think Iowa State, I'm not entirely sure about. It's going to be a very interesting thing. I think that big prove-it game is going to be week 3. Iowa State, Nebraska in Lincoln. It's going to be a good gauge of how good these teams are. Same with that Iowa State-Oklahoma State game a few weeks later. Or I think the next week. Iowa State is a really tough start to the year because they already play Tulane in Iowa. It might be rough for Iowa State this season. Danny, any Big 12 games strike out to you?
Yeah, there's a lot, and also something to mention about this that everyone plays everyone in their own division plus 1 permanent cross-division opponent. If you want, I can also go through that if you will like. But there's a lot of fun matchups here, especially some of the rivalry games that were preserved.
We might not have enough time to go through all of them. We can put it in scores and schedules, however.
All right.
What's your big highlight game on the list?
Yeah, my big highlight game, I think I am gonna put. Well, just sticking within the conference, I am actually kind of liking the. Of course, you got Red River. Of course, you got Bedlam at the end. But I'm thinking maybe a sneaky one might be SMU BYU. I think that's gonna be one that's gonna determine like one of like the contenders in the Heartland.
Pig Bear, what's your game to watch?
I really like that Missouri-Texas game in Week 7. That'll be a really good real bit. That'll be our first real Missouri legit game.
Mm-hmm. It's their first real test.
Late. Yeah, it's late, but it's their first big test.
Week 7,
or like also Nebraska, Oklahoma State in the other division. That's also a blackout game for Nebraska.
So I really don't like these divisions. Can we get back to geographical divisions, please, Big 12?
I think it works better for parity because I guess it works better for parity. We'll see how it works in practice because the Big 12 loves changing them. Let's move to Conference USA now. Conference USA, if you remember, Texas State, undefeated regular season, only to lose in the conference championship game. Touchdown for the Duck. They lost to Marshall. Texas State among some of the favorites to go undefeated in the mid-majors. But I think that team you should watch out for is UAB. Watch that schedule. Arguably their toughest game is at home to start the year against FAU. And then beyond that, it's practically smooth sailing. Winnable games, 5 in a row, a bye into UTSA, what might be the toughest game since then, also at home. They head to Marshall, which might be a test for them. But at this point, Marshall will have to play at Ohio, play Tennessee, as well as a road game against James Madison. UAB might end up undefeated this season, entering the conference championship game. If there's any game to watch out for on their schedule, again, that Week 11 matchup at Marshall. On the other side of the conference, Texas State has their rival UTSA to end the year. I want to cycle the clock back to Week 5, though. Southern Miss might be a challenge for them. They head to Hattiesburg, Mississippi to take on the Golden Eagles. Danny, what's your game to watch here?
My game to watch is going to be Week 8. UAB hosts UTSA. I think UTSA, they have a chance of either being undefeated or getting there with 1 loss. I definitely do think that that's going to be a good game to see for Conference USA.
Big Bear.
Not a conference game, but I like James Madison and North Carolina playing in Week 2. That's a home game for the Dukes. Be a good statement game for them, saying, hey, we're here.
All right, let's move over to the Ivy League. Ivy League, I want to look at some of their non-conference games. It's really sort of a grab bag with the conference itself. They'll watch that Columbia-Harvard game week 7. The last time Columbia had to travel to Boston, they lost, and lost the conference that year to the Crimson. As for the rest of the conference here, that Brown-Northwestern game is probably going to be difficult. Penn heads to Chapel Hill to take on North Carolina, and then they host Georgetown. Of course, you have the Princeton-Rutgers rivalry to start the year. Dartmouth and Columbia head to Ireland to start the season. That's one of the games that we have overseas that we didn't actually talk about in the later segment. But two prestigious American colleges heading across the pond to Dublin. What's your favorite game on the schedule, Danny?
Yeah, a game I'm really liking is actually the final weekend, Hartford, Yale, and Fenway. That's gonna be a fun one to see.
Big Bear.
I mean, you mentioned it earlier, but I think your conference title decider is Harvard, Columbia, in Amherst.
Boston.
Oh my God, Boston. Oh no, Cambridge. That's the official town name it's in. Yep, they're gonna go play a game at UMass, guys. Calling it right now. I'm kidding.
Gotta go all the way out there. Let's go to the MAC. Last season, Johns Hopkins surprised everybody by going on a tear and winning the division and the conference. This season, they might not be so lucky. Tough road game to start the season at Navy. They play road games against Akron and Western Michigan, who look to be favorites in the conference. That Week 9 game against the Broncos in Kalamazoo might be the most entertaining game on the MAC schedule. Keep an eye out for Western schedule as well. They head to Germany to play Michigan. They go to Boise State as well. They've got a lot of tough challenges ahead. Even that FCS team, Stony Brook looks to be one of the best teams in the FCS. So this will be a battle-proven Western Michigan team should they make it out of this schedule. Danny?
Yeah, there's two games I really want to point out. Both of them are very early. Week 0 rivalry games: Northern Illinois, Southern Illinois. Definitely gonna be a fun one, especially in Week 0. But then another one I want to point out: the shootout. Eastern Michigan against Dave Show, Week 1 in Orlando. A game historically with a lot of points scored, so this is gonna be fun to see.
All right, let's now move to the Missouri Valley.
I've got one out of conference I want to mention.
Oh, yes.
Another rivalry. Ohio and Marshall. Those schools hate each other, and they're just really just across the Ohio River from each other.
Yeah.
Those schools hate each other. If you don't want a good rivalry game to watch, tune in that one Week 2.
Former MAC school Marshall, they left for the Conference USA in the 2KU back in 2023.
And Marshall's a cool school because they've got rivals all over the place. It's like you've got rivals in like Ohio and stuff, and you've got rivals in like App State and East Carolina and stuff. They're a really cool school with that.
You can kind of put them anywhere in your realignments, and it works.
Yeah, that's the thing I like say to West Virginia. It's the North, it's the Midwest, and it's the South all at the same time.
Yeah. Let's now move to the Missouri Valley. As I mentioned, realigned, lost quite a few members, but added 2 more. Former Southland members in Lamar and Northwestern State. A very interesting move for both these schools. We mentioned it last season. Sort of a litmus test to see how well they can still handle being in a major conference, or being in an FBS conference specifically. Northwestern State will be without their head coach, Darren Moon. It's going to be a bit of tough sailing without their head. Lamar had a good season last year, and a season that got him a bit of attention. Their coach is back. They look to have a pretty easy start to the season, minus that Texas State game, Week 2. Oh, boy. A game I actually want to highlight. It's going to be that Southern Illinois matchup in Week 8 against Missouri State. Southern Illinois lost conference championship last year to Drake. And now Missouri State has been on the rise the past few seasons, and they look to challenge Southern Illinois' throne. They won back-to-back titles in 2023 and 24, and they're still considered one of the best teams in the conference, but not if the Bears have anything to say about it. Danny?
Man, talk about a tough 4 game stretch for Southern Illinois. They host Missouri State, host South Dakota State, go to Illinois State, and then go to North Dakota State. That's a bit of a tough stretch for the Missouri Valley.
Mm-hmm. Especially for a team that's been so dominant in the past, this might be the star fading in Carbondale. Pig Bear?
No, I like the Dakota showdown to end the season. South Dakota State, North Dakota State. That's a huge game in the Missouri Valley for me.
I forget the name of the trophy. Some border post.
Dakota marker. Dakota marker.
Dakota marker. Thank you. Let's now move to the Mountain West.
And not to spoil things too much, but in my opinion, we could see a rematch of that just the next week.
Mm-hmm.
There's a possibility.
Yeah, we end the season with the or we'll end the show with our predictions for the conferences. We'll move to the Mountain West. Got quite a bit of action in week 0. There's really one matchup I want to draw attention to, and that's going to be week 9. UNLV hosting Wyoming. I think this game will be played twice. Spoiler alert. I think this is a matchup of the two best teams in this conference. Though we have some other matchups as well. That Fremont Cannon game between Nevada and UNLV is one to watch out for. New Mexico State plays UNLV week 6, as well as Nevada in Reno on week 10. And even beyond that, Hawaii and Nevada have a showdown in week 12 that I want to keep an eye out for. As well as non-conference games, New Mexico State heads up to Autzen to take on the Oregon Ducks in Eugene. This is the first time that these teams have faced off against each other in a long time. Watch that game in the non-conference schedule. I believe someone has background noise, but Danny, take it away.
Yeah, man, that noise is really loud. But I think the game that I think is going to be replayed for me is UNLV New Mexico State week 6, and I think that's going to be at the other location.
Hey, Pig Bear, you got a background noise.
Okay. I really like this Hawaii UTEP game in week 8. I just don't know. I've got a sneaky feeling UTEP's gonna have a sneaky good season no one's really talking about.
Possibility's still there. UTEP taking quite kindly to their new location in the Mountain West. Imagine that, being in a conference with all your rivals. To week 11, to the Pac-12 we go. I believe they were no divisions last year, and they're running it back this season with the same format. Someone in the shower?
It's a fan.
Ah.
I mean, it gets hot. You turn it off, but
Oh, certainly. We're moving into the Pac-12. Looking at the schedule right now, USC has a sneaky difficult start to the season with Michigan State in Detroit and UNLV start the year, as well as conference games against at Stanford versus Arizona State, at Oregon State. Keep an eye on those. I think Oregon State might be a team to watch out for. That week 7 game against Arizona State looks entertaining. That week 3 game ASU has against Stanford looks like fun. But in terms of competing for the conference, I think Oregon, USC, Utah, and Washington are the 4 teams to watch out for. That week 5 game against Washington, potential contender for game of the season in terms of implications and stakes. And of course, USC actually, I think, has a pretty easy schedule beyond that early stretch in the conference. I think their biggest games right now look out of conference. Keep an eye out for USC moving forward. As for our resident shockers, Boise State has tough games against Utah, has tough games against Washington, has a tough game week 12 at Oregon as well. Definitely, the Pac-12 is once again going to be a conference to watch this season. Danny, what games do you have your eyes on?
Yeah, I mean, also point out for Boise State, they also go to Cincinnati. That's going to be a tough one. Week 0, of course, is a one Pac-12 matchup. But I want to point out one team here. Earlier in the preseason, I went through the power rankings and I calculated the strength of schedule. Cal is the number one strength of schedule, and seeing their schedule, geez.
Yeah, let's take a look at that closer. Wisconsin at Wyoming, Pacific, who won the WAC last season, mind you. At Oregon versus Utah, and that's before their first bye. They play UCLA at home, Washington at home, then they go to USC, Arizona, and Boise State in a row, head home to play Fresno, and then go to Stanford to end the year. That is extremely difficult for the Cal Golden Bears, and this might be a team where you have to watch every single game, either one way or another. Pig Bear?
Yeah, no, I really like back in the Boise, Oregon, Week 12. That'll be a good matchup.
Now we move.
Let's go Ducks.
We move now to the SEC. Second season of the new divisional structure, now that they have Rice and Tulsa. Two schools, unfortunately, didn't really do a lot last season, but they hope to rebound this year. But looking at their schedules, it doesn't look great for them. But that SEC East looks daunting. Week 5, another contender for a potential game of the year. Georgia at Alabama. Those look to be my two favorites in the division. But Tennessee probably has a lot to say about it. They play Washington to start the year. Very difficult game. Head to Florida Week 3. Head to Georgia Week 6. Host Alabama on that third Saturday in October, Week 7. Also bringing back the red on orange jerseys for the first time since the 1970s for that game. And also Week 12, they head to Baton Rouge to take on LSU. An LSU team who may be this conference's best shot at a national championship. They look dangerous this season. I think, once again, that division will come down to that final weekend as LSU plays Arkansas for the Golden Boot, as that happened last year. Danny?
Ooh, so many big games, so many tough opponents. I think the game most to watch for both national and national title implications. Week 2, Georgia, the Dogs host the Tigers on Clemson.
An old rivalry renewed. Also, can we say how refreshing it is after having the past couple seasons of the SEC struggling to see them back in full swing? To see teams like Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Arkansas getting national consideration once again after it feels like they're truly out of the light or truly out of the darkness that was that post-scandal era.
Also, with the difficultness of Week 11 from Alabama, Auburn, and from Ole Miss. That tough stretch that all those teams have of Southern, Morris Brown, and SEMO. Insert laugh track.
Right,
so hard. It's SEC tradition.
Pig Bear, what you got?
I think it was a good game here. I like that Arkansas Georgia game Week 4. That'll be pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Let's move now.
That's not off an easy stretch either. You come off hosting Utah at home and heading to Norman to play the Sooners.
Yeah. Let's head to the Sun Belt real quick. FAU won the East last season. Not going to be easy for them to start this year, though. UAB and Miami as road opponents. You play App State on the road. You play Jacksonville State and Louisiana Lafayette on the road as well. FIU doesn't have a very easy schedule either. At Marshall, USF, at North Texas to start the year. And that's going to be a pretty bad tone setter, especially with games at Georgia Southern and at Coastal Carolina. A sneaky team to watch for in the division might be Georgia Southern. That Kentucky game to start the year is winnable, certainly. And then beyond that, it's a bit smooth sailing until that Week 8 game against FAU. Their toughest games near the back end of the season, namely FAU in Week 8. They head to Boca, and then at ULM Week 12. ULM shocked everyone by making the conference championship game last season. It feels like it might be a lot less of a shock this year if they can do it, but they have tough road games. Watch that Week 10 game ULM plays against South Alabama. Danny?
I think for me, the game to look out for is Week 7, App State, Florida Atlantic. That game's going to be big. It's going to be good showcase for both schools, and I think, and at least in my opinion, that's going to be showing who's most likely to win the division.
Big Bear.
Take one from the West. I like Louisiana. Sorry, I like Week 4, Louisiana versus Arkansas State. That one will be huge.
The Ragin' Cajuns heading up to Jonesboro. We have a classic Sun Belt rivalry there. We move now to the WAC, the final conference that we talk about today. And it's really, we're not exactly sure what to expect from this conference. New members, namely in McNeese, Nichols, and I believe Central Arkansas is new as well. All from the Southland Conference.
No, they've been here.
Okay. So McNeese and Nichols are the two new members to the conference. Both from the Southland.
And also Sac State and UC Davis are new.
Yes. The former independent Sac State and UC Davis. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sacramento State.
Better than Sacramento State.
Louisiana Tech and North Texas look to be the favorites in this conference, and they have a matchup in Week 11 that everyone has their eyes on. If I'm going to highlight another game, though, Tarleton hosts Sacramento State in Week 6. Keep an eye out for that. Danny?
Game I want to point out is Week 13. Tarleton goes to North Texas, a battle for the DFW area.
Pig Bear, send us home here.
Cal State Fullerton Long Beach. What a cool rivalry end off the year.
Yeah. In the shadow of the pyramid in Long Beach, California will be the matchup there. It's been a bit since Long Beach has been bowl eligible. That was back in 2022, I believe. But now we move now to our independents, of which we have 4 this season: Army, Navy, Notre Dame, as well as UT Arlington, who left the Southland last season. Their FBS future currently hangs in the balance. But as for now, they have a pretty difficult schedule. I believe they are projected to finish 0-12. No, sorry, 1-11. They have they're favored to win against East Texas. But it's going to be a bit of an uphill battle for the Mavs. However, if you want to talk about uphill battles, Notre Dame built themselves as the toughest team in the nation, and they have the schedule to prove it. Alabama, at Michigan, at Texas. That's not the highlights of the schedule. That's the first 3 weeks. They have a neutral site game against NC State Week 5. They host Stanford Week 7. They have road games against Florida State and Clemson back-to-back in Weeks 10 and 11. They host Georgia Tech Week 12. They end on the road against USC. If this team makes it out of this schedule, undefeated, they are undoubtedly number 1 in the country. Even if a team wins their conference championship, I think they're number 2 behind Notre Dame, because look at that schedule and tell me that they don't have a better strength schedule than whoever they're facing. If they get through all that,
the only team better might be Cal.
No.
I think Cal would be the only team who would be number 1 in that scenario. Figuring that they win the Big Ten, or figuring they win the Pac-12. Sorry, wrong conference. As for other games,
California team in the Big Ten, that's
maybe
impossible.
Maryland, Week 13. That might be interesting. Danny, what do you have your eyes on?
A lot of fun matchups, a lot of good matches here. One I would love to point out is the battle between the Commanders and Chiefs in the Valley of Roses in Pasadena.
Yeah, Army Navy heading to Pasadena for the first time. We're going to Cali to play the Army Navy game. Pig Bear.
I got a clarification. Is Navy Old Dominion at Selhurst or is that Wembley?
Selhurst.
Selhurst, okay.
I think that's an error. That was an error by me. Whoops.
Okay, no, it's just...
Because I had it down as Wembley on the other sheet.
The entirety of Notre Dame's schedule gets game with it. There's no easy games. Wake's not a particularly easy game. State's not a particularly easy game. Syracuse is not a particularly easy game. Navy's not a particularly easy game.
And if you remember, I said Notre Dame was a better team than the record gave credit for last season. If that's the case last season, this year is going to be even stronger.
Notre Dame could realistically be 1-3, and there's a shot the computer ranks them like 10th.
I mean, I wouldn't blame them. Or I would blame them.
We'd be looking at the rankings going to week 5 when they head to Bank of America State and play North Carolina State. They're 1-3, and they're ranked like 20th overall.
It's going to be difficult to talk about. Let's talk about... I have a list of the top 50 games to watch next season. I'll be posting that on the headlines, or in the headlines afterwards. I have a different list I want to talk about. We're going to be talking about international games. We got quite a few to start the season this year. And I've put together a bit of an abbreviated history of our college football international games. We get things started in 1874. Yes, that far back. The first game, American college football game played outside the United States. Harvard went up to Montreal to play McGill. Who's McGill? A Canadian school in what is now known as U Sports. The game ended in a 0-0 tie. It would be the first in a series of games that Harvard would play against Canadian teams. Same time, a few years later, in 1880, same country, Toronto hosts the Michigan Wolverines. The Wolverines would end up winning 5-2. This would be the first of a series Michigan would play against Canadian schools. Jumping ahead to 1907, Mississippi A&M, you now know as Mississippi State, won a 19-2 game played in Armendariz Park against the University of Havana in Cuba. The first installment of what would be a short-lived Bacardi Bowl to end the year. That game was played on Christmas Day, 1907. We moved to November 1912 in a game that doesn't actually have a listed site. It was played in Windsor between the University of Windsor and Michigan State Normal, which is now known as Eastern Michigan, who was 6-6 tie. It would be the series, or part of a series that MSU Normal would play against Canadian schools, much in the same vein as Michigan and Harvard. That used to be a very common thing for schools to do, to schedule Canadian schools when you need to fill a schedule. Because back then, the differences in rules weren't as major as they are now, as well as the gap in talent wasn't as big as it is now. As a matter of fact, you can actually see that in 1929 when UNAM, I believe the National University of Mexico, beat Miami 16-14 in Mexico City, the first non-American team to record a win against an NCAA program. It would take a while before that would happen again. Jumping a while ahead, 1944. Edmonton AAB, which I believe is an Air Force base in Edmonton, lost a game 101-7 to Idaho Southern Branch, now known as Idaho State. It'd be one of 2 games that Edmonton AAB would play against an NCAA school. They got outscored 236-7 in both of those games. To 1946 we go. UNAM back again. They lost this game to Howard Payne 25-3. What makes this notable? It was the 1945 Sun Bowl. It's the only time in NCAA history a non-American team would appear in a bowl game. We jump down now for a while to the NAIA. 1954, Eastern New Mexico would beat Notre Dame of Canada 140-0 in a matchup in Regina, Saskatchewan. Notre Dame is a high school. This is the last American college football game in Canada until 2007. We have to jump forward again to 1976 in August, way before the college football season started, when Henderson State and Texas A&I, now Texas A&M Kingsville, at the time NAIA schools, would play a full series through Europe. Starting in West Berlin, then to Vienna, and then to Paris, it would be the first college football games played in Europe. To 1977, Division II schools Central Missouri and Nevada would play a game in Tokyo. The Wolfpack getting the win 42-12. By the way, Texas A&I won all 3 of those games. Jumping again ahead to 1985, Dartmouth and Hawaii would play at VFL Park in Melbourne, Australia. The first college football game played there. At Crystal Palace National Sports Center in London, we would see a game between Boston College and Villanova in 1988. It would end up being the highest scoring game between 2 Big East opponents at the time, with Boston College winning 72-65. That same year, Notre Dame and Army, fittingly enough, would play in Dublin. The first college football game to be played in Ireland. In 1991, we had a very interesting matchup, Willamette and Pomona Pitzer. The former would win 35-6. That game was in Beijing. A very bizarre case in 1993 saw Georgetown and Pittsburgh playing a game in Bermuda.
What's up, Asian?
This game was supposed to be a big draw. However, there was a big rainstorm of day before the game, and as such, it sits on the books as the lowest attended game in FBS history. Only 426 people would show up. Pittsburgh would win 11-5. Bermuda's still trying to get a game in the future, though, so keep an eye on them. Morgan State would lose 12-41 to Bethune-Cookman on September 30th, 2000 in Thomas Robinson Stadium in the Bahamas. The first game to be played in the Caribbean since the last Bacardi Bowl in 1936. In 2007, Rogers Center in Toronto would host the first International Bowl, now known as the Game Above Sports Bowl, the first game played in Canada since that 1954 game. Move ahead to 2010, Terry Fox Field in Burnaby. New Mexico Highlands would beat Simon Fraser 30-14. Not a big deal for most people. However, it is the first game to be played with a Canadian school as an NCAA member. That being the Simon Fraser clan, now the Red Leafs. 2011, we had an odd one. May of 2011, CONADEP, which is the Mexico's equivalent of the NCAA, grouped together to form an all-star team, and they wanted to play a team in the NCAA. They sent applications out to teams in the 2KU at the time. The team that got back to them was FIU, who agreed to a game. However, I don't understand why, but they wanted to play it at a neutral site, so they chose Sheikh Amri Abeid Memorial Stadium in Tanzania. Still on the books is the only college football game to be played in Africa. It was not exhibition, so when I say some stats later, you'll understand why this doesn't count. FIU won 56-9 in this one. It was supposed to be it's the first and only installation of what we know as the Global Kilimanjaro Bowl. It would be the setup for what we know as the Stars Bowl, which sees the CONADEP All-Stars taking on a D3 school. That series is played to this day. 2012, Boston College and Penn State played in the Aviva Stadium in Dublin. The 16th ranked Nittany Lions got the win 30-28. It's the first time an international game featured a top 25 team. 2 years later, in 2014, Christmas Eve, East Carolina beat Kent State 23-10 in the first installation of what is now the Bahamas Bowl. Hawaii and Oregon State played a good game in ANZ Stadium in Sydney. I'm going to skip ahead to 2017 to talk about their game against Stanford, as well as to set up a stat later. Hawaii's never lost a game off of the American continent. They're actually 4-0 all time, and we'll talk about that fourth one in a moment. Cycling back to 2016, Maryland beat Tulane 27-16 in Dublin. This is the first installment of what we now know as the Aer Lingus College Football Classic, which has been played frequently ever since. Simon Fraser in 2018 got a win over Minot State, that being the first time a non-American team would win a postseason game in NCAA history. Only the second time they had played in the postseason, the first being that Sun Bowl in 1945. So the same year, technically, the season had ended afterwards, but that same Hawaii team was invited by the Japanese team Kwansei Gakuin to Osaka to play a US versus Japan college exhibition. This was supposed to be the first game in a recurring series. However, the plans were scrapped, namely due to the fact that Hawaii beat Kwansei Gakuin 87-3 in that game. 2019 would be the final time, or most recent time at least, we would see an NCAA team play an international squad as Yale beat China's All-Stars in Shanghai 29-17. The Aer Lingus College Football Classic has been a regular fixture in the 2KU ever since 2020. 2021, Nebraska would be the first top 10 team to play off of the American continent. They would be the first to lose as well, as they lost their game to Miami. Skipping ahead, we'll talk about the games that are being played this season. We have three of note, or three that I wanted to highlight. Western Michigan and Michigan in Frankfurt, Germany. This is the first game in Germany since 1978's NAIA series, and the first time NCAA schools have played in the country. Meanwhile, we have the game between Navy and Old Dominion, not in that's going to be at Selhurst Park, not Wembley, in London. First college football game to be played in the UK since 1988. It'll be the first in what will be a recurring series of games, the Union Jack Classic. Wake Forest and Florida State wrap us up in Milton Santos Stadium. That game is in Rio de Janeiro. The first college football game to be played in South America, meaning Africa is the only continent without a non-exhibition NCAA football game. We have two games already scheduled for next season, or at least two locations picked out. The Aer Lingus College Football Classic will be back next year in Dublin, as well as the Rogers Center getting a regular season game in Toronto. There are some proposals as well. Tokyo wants another game. Sydney wants one as well. The first non-exhibition NCAA game in Japan since 1993 would be the result for Tokyo. Sydney's looking for Australia's first game since 2017. And we've actually finished this game here. We have a lot to talk about in this episode. Danny, talk about some of your favorite international games. I actually have to run out of the room real quick. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I mean, sorry about this, guys. I'm just gonna get the game ready. But I definitely do think there's a lot of fun games around, and of course, some great matches as well. I'm also gonna just download Manning real quick. I really want to have Japan have back. I mean, they had the Coca-Cola Classic, at least in real life, where even some of the Big Tens, including the Wisconsin Badgers, played in there several times.
Clemson played Wake Forest in Japan in real life before. Like, that's happened.
Yeah, I know Kansas State has also played out there before, and a lot of others. So definitely do think there could be a lot of fun out there and a lot of great matchups as well. But Austin, are there any international games you would love to see?
Obviously, I'd love to see an app game internationally, but I'd like to see some more in Canada, especially like we can get one or two a year in Canada. Maybe get like Syracuse, Michigan played in Toronto or something, meet halfway.
Mm-hmm. What are some games you guys would like to see? Sorry, I desperately needed some water after all that.
Yep. There's a lot of good matchups I definitely do think are a possibility. I'm honestly also kind of thinking like, you said that they took place in there was a game except that Africa's the only one that hasn't had a exhibition game yet, right?
Only one with only continent with a stadium. Sorry, Antarctica.
Oh, when can we have the Antarctica Bowl?
Sorry about that. I really needed water. I ran out. Uh, if you have if you could pick a site, where would you pick, Danny?
I would love a game in Madrid. That's me personally, as someone who lived in Madrid for a while, and
Never had
also
a
with the
game in
NFL
Spain.
being very successful out there, that could be a really good matchup.
The new and slightly improved Manning team there. Pick
Yep,
there.
man,
If you
Manning
could pick
playing
a,
against the Manning tournament champions.
if you could pick a site for a new site game like this, where would you pick?
I mentioned more Canada games, but also I'd like to see like a Glasgow or a Edinburgh game. You've got obviously Hampden Park in Glasgow, and also Celtic Park in Ibrox. You can play it at, or you can play it at Hearts or Hibs at Edinburgh.
Mm-hmm. I could see the Union Jack Classic bouncing around the UK.
Hey, maybe in Scotland, and maybe they invite Boston College out there.
Actually, where's the most Scottish colleges in America? Because you have Irish colleges like Boston College, Notre Dame. I don't know if we have many like
You could
distinctly
probably make like a
American
case for someone like,
or
I know I'm about to
Scottish.
sound super App State homer here, but App State, there's a lot of Scottish Highlands connections to the high country of North Carolina.
I know Wisconsin a lot of connections thanks to drinking.
Yeah, that too. But no, like the North Carolina Highland games are held here.
I think South Korea would be a very interesting spot that we haven't really touched yet.
Ooh.
I don't know how much football crossover there is in Korea. I don't know if it's as much as it is in like Japan or China, where they've had their own leagues pop up recently. But South Korea is an interesting market to potentially tap into. I am very much beating the drum of them returning to Australia. And now, let's send the show home. We got predictions to talk about. The 2KU games of the week.
Well, don't we have ups and downs, buy sells?
We do have our buys and sells. I did miss that. Let's circle back around to that. Sorry about that. Buy or sell. We have each collected a couple teams that we think that we are either high or low on for this season. I've got 5. Danny's got 4 of each. Pig Bear's got 3 of each. I'm gonna get mine out of the way first.
Let's get conference championship picks.
That's gonna be at the end of the show. Let's get this started. I'm gonna start from the bottom of my buys, move up. Mississippi State, I have improving this season. The SEC West is a 2-horse race, but keep an eye out for the Bulldogs. To play spoiler for any SEC contender they're up against. Penn State, I'm very much up on. Nittany Lions made the gamble of hiring Robert Kelly. The upside has Penn State as a Big Ten frontrunner. Number 3, I mentioned it already, USF. The South Florida Bulls are sick of playing second fiddle in Florida, and they have built a team tailor-made to get the better of their rival. Nebraska. They have been building their team over the past few years. I think Darren Moon is the piece to get them to the apex, and I think this team's going to be very good next season. My number 1, USC is going to be back in the conversation again. They had the number 1 recruitment class in the Pac-12 again, and they have had a lot of success bubbling under, or a lot of setup for success bubbling under the past few seasons. And really, the Pac-12 frontrunner has been the national championship frontrunner the past few seasons, and this may be no exception. I'm going to go through my sells from the top to the bottom. Nevada, I think, is going to cool down from last year. They're the mid-major darling, but I think they're going to take a dip in the Mountain West this season. South Carolina, I think it's going to take a pretty big dip. That ACC championship doesn't mean a lot when you had the head coach and 13 other members of that team leave in the offseason. Iowa State, I think, is going to take a pretty big dip. Eric Haynes, you got to prove that you earned Coach of the Year last season now, that this team is not going to be as strong as it used to be. Wisconsin, I think, is going to be taking a bit of a dip. They're no means out of the Big Ten, but the reigning Big Ten champs don't really have the firepower nor the schedule that they had last season that both helped to make that season possible. My biggest sell, that's going to be Texas Tech. The feel-good story last year lost its heart in Cal Dirks, and they are in a brutal new division. They got to face off against Nebraska, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, Iowa State as well. But there's really no room to breathe for Texas Tech. All right. While I take a very long drink of water, Danny, talk about your buys and sells.
Yeah, my lowest buy I'm going to put there is SMU. Now, they are playing in an easier division, and they do have themselves a better talent pool, at least compared to last year. I mean, definitely do think the division can be mostly ran through Texas and Texas A&M, but SMU has a good chance of playing for the number 3 spot of the division. Definitely a good chance. Despite them going 7-6 last season, I have them going 8-4, 6-3 in conference. And plus, Umu Musume. My number 3 team, I have Dave Show. They went 7-6 last season, 4-4 in conference. This time they look like they have an easier schedule for the out of conference. There's no Florida. They do play Eastern Michigan and of course UCF, USF, Arizona State. They have a pretty good schedule. I have them going 9-3, 6-2 in conference. My next pick, my number 2 buy, is Oklahoma State. Last season they went 5-7, 3-6 in conference. But now they have themselves a new and proven head coach, and plus also a kind of workable schedule. I have them improving to 8-4 and 6-3. And my number 1 buy, it's got to be the Irish. New head coach, number 1 QB. They have new talent and of course new potential. The only problem with them is just a really really tough schedule. But I have them going 9-3.
All right.
My first sell, I'm picking Maryland. Last season they went 8-5, 5-3 in conference. They have a tougher schedule, and of course the talent turnover is going to be insane. I'm going 5-7, 3-5 in conference. Next one I have Texas State. The darlings of last season, the miracle run they had. They went 13-1, 8-0 last season. This time, 7-5, 5-3. Next sell, Cincinnati. Last season they went 9-4, 6-3 in conference. This division has basically been taken over by Louisville and UCF. But now I feel like they're kind of playing wounded, and now with South Florida looking at the water, looking at the blood, trying to get the third or maybe even second, I have Cincy going 7-5, 6-3. And my last sell, my biggest sell, Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic last season, they were darling for a bit, went 11-3, 6-2 in conference. But we saw with their game against South Alabama last season, if you once they went out to the sun, they just got burned and fell away down to earth. And now the Sun Belt is watching them, and the Sun Belt will be coming for them. I have them falling to 6-6, 5-3 in conference.
All right, Pig Bear, what are your 3 buys and sells?
First off, we're gonna start with the buys. I'm high on the Texas Longhorns. I know they went 10-3 last year. It's a great year. I think they go above and beyond that this year, and I think they'll finish 11-1, 8-1 in conference play. My second team I'm high on are the Tennessee Volunteers. I think they will. I think honestly, if y'all might, let me fact check myself really, really quick. No, I don't. I think they'll fall just short of winning the East, but they'll be really, really good this season. I have them going 10-2, and I'm also high on the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. I think they go undefeated in ACC play. In all honesty, I think they finish 10-2 overall and 8-0 in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Who I'm selling on? I'm selling on the Nevada Wolfpack. I think the mid-major hangover hits them. They've had their time in the sun, really, and I think it's got to cycle back through. Another team I'm low on is the Wisconsin Badgers. Yes, they won the conference last year, but they had signs they weren't maybe as good as that 11-3 record showed they were.
I.e., that game against Washington.
Yes. I think they crashed back down to reality and finished about 7-5 this year, having a losing record in conference play. And last team I'm low on are the Clemson Tigers. I just think it's going to fall apart. Not where it's completely falling apart, but it's going to be a lot different than 12-1.
I think Clemson, you got to have a good season. You got to win the ACC this year. Otherwise, this tenure has been a failure. Even with all the wins you've accrued, look at, they went 12-1 last season. They went 11-3 2 years ago in 2023. They've still not played in the conference championship game since we started the series. Even for all these wins they've accrued, they have not played in the conference championship game. It has been, if they can't do it this season, it's going to be an embarrassment, I think. I'm going to move now. Now we get to talk about our 2KU games of the week. We're going to send this show on in style. And we actually have a pick tracker this time. We'll be updating this as we go along. We'll put it somewhere, probably in the server. At the end of each week, we'll look at our picks, and then we'll put a table showing our picks, my picks, Danny's picks, Pig Bear's picks, as well as the chalk, the line. Moving forward, let's get started. Old Dominion and Navy playing the Union Jack Classic in Selhurst Stadium in London. This is the first game Old Dominion's played outside of North America in school history. The last time they played outside of the U.S. was back in 2016 for the Bahamas Bowl. Old Dominion was 2-10 last season. Navy finished an even 7-7. The odds favor Navy by 3.5. I like the midshipmen taking this one. Danny, let's make our first picks of the year.
Yeah. For the DV Sports Report picks of the year, we select the Navy midshipmen for the first major game of the 2KU.
Big Bear?
And I tell you what, I love this call early in the game. You know why? You get your quarterback hit early.
Awesome.
He gets hit.
I'd win pick Navy here.
All right.
Good. You show him the defense that he's
Moving now to number 2 Michigan, the first ranked team to take the field this season. They'll be taking on Western Michigan in Deutsche Bank Park in Frankfurt, Germany. Michigan, the first top 10 team to play in Europe since 2021. However, fortune doesn't favor them. The last time it happened, they lost. Nebraska lost 24-21 to Miami in Dublin. That was back in 2021. Michigan, though, has quite a bit of a gap between them. They're 13-1 last season. Entering this game, last season, Western Michigan was a respectable 9-4. But being favored by 17, I gotta pick the Wolverines here, Danny.
Wolverines, easy.
Pig Bear?
Also.
Now, to Milton Santos Stadium in Rio. The first college football game to be played in South America, as we mentioned. Florida State and Wake Forest, ACC foes. FSU, 4-8 last year, but they're expected to bounce back. Wake Forest, 3-9. After a overachieving 2025, they underachieved last 2024. They underachieved last season. Which version of the Deacons will we see this year? We'll find out in this Rio game. FSU is favored by 13.5. I like the Noles in this one.
It's a quote from the good old man. Though he may be gone from the show, he's still not gone from my hearts. Miss Florida State! Florida State! Seminoles! Go Seminoles!
Yeah, Lee Corso, never forget. Big Bear!
Really?
ESPN, instead of becoming the Pat McAfee network, we go back to what made ESPN good. Give me Florida State, but give me Florida State close, like very close.
That's the interesting thing about these international games. They're always wild cards. You never know what to expect. Again, look at that 2021 Nebraska-Miami game. To the FCS we go. Abilene Christian and Washington Lee, number 17 and number 20 in the FCS respectively. Both teams new to the FCS. They both were part of conferences that have since moved down to the second rung from the FBS. Washington Lee last season was 6-6. Abilene Christian 5-7. ACU is favored by 6.5 in this game in Montgomery. Give me Abilene Christian to get their FCS tenure started strong, and keep an eye out for them in the Southland, Danny.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they might be happy to see numbers right by their name in the rankings, but of course, it's still sad. And of course, the FCS committee, they want this game to remind everyone, yeah, both these conferences are now FCS conferences. Deal with it. Definitely a big little shocker for these guys. And of course, I'm sure they might be shocked to see their numbers and money come down.
The good news, though, for these schools is they're competitive immediately in this new ecosystem. The best of the best, like an Abilene Christian, I think they are going to be very competitive.
And I believe, if let me just get this correct. Yeah, so both of these conferences, they do have themselves luckily a grace period underneath NCAA rules because they don't have the minimum 8 teams, but it was because they lost a lot of their teams and couldn't really scramble to get them. But luckily, the NCAA gave them grace periods, the 2-year grace period.
I think, thankfully,
Shout out Washington
Southland should
State.
expand soon.
Yeah, they already have teams that already have announced they're going to be joining in. SoCon will be bringing in Sanford to join the conference. Meanwhile, for Southland, it's still just rumors at this point, but they're looking at some nearby Texas and like Central Time Zone schools.
Keep an eye out for some D2 schools. I think I've heard rumors about a school like Central Oklahoma moving up.
Hey, maybe the new Pioneer League.
Who do you got in this game, though?
Yeah, for this game, oops, I got.
I don't know if I mentioned that.
I got Washington Lee winning it.
Big Bear?
Washington Lee winning this game also.
Oh, game pause. We now move from the FCS back to the FBS to Texas. The Alamo Dome hosting a recent burgeoning rivalry between UTSA and North Texas. UTSA went 7-6 last season. North Texas went 11-3, their second 11-win season in program history. Their last one came in 2022 when they won the Sun Belt. They were runners-up in the WAC last season. They're favored by 2.5 on the road. I like UTSA, though. That's going to be a bouncing atmosphere in San Antonio. Danny?
Yeah, this also knows a rivalry they don't mention, or something like that. They have some interesting rivalry name. Just to get the quick little fact check.
I don't know if they named it.
Nope, doesn't have a proper rivalry name, just fan names. But it's definitely gonna be a fun one. I think both these teams have a lot to prove, and both these have a lot to show for not just as a non-AQ teams, but also for the state of Texas. And for this one, give me the Road Runners that go meep all over the mean green.
Big Bear?
Texas going chalk here.
To Boca we go. FAU, fresh off their third 11-win season. Their last two were 2011 and 2021. They won the Sun Belt all 3 of those seasons, and they've got another title under their belts. They're looking for another one this season as they start the season against Army. Army was disappointing at 4-9 last season. It was not what they were expecting or hoping for a campaign this year. This has been an Army team that's been consistently good these past couple of seasons, so it's been an uphill battle to get that trust back. FAU favored by 6.5. I'm picking the Owls. Going chalk with this one, Danny.
Yeah, this game, I feel like it's way too early for a team like FAU to be ready for. The triple option is always going to be tough for anyone. Doesn't matter if it's at the start, middle, or end. But how early it is, I think they're going to catch something off guard, and I think Army will upset the Owls.
Big Bear?
Army wins this game comfortably. I'm on the same page as Danny. I just don't think they can stop the triple option. I think Army wins by 2 touchdowns.
All right, up next, we head to college football's oldest rivalry, and we head to Princeton, New Jersey. Rutgers taking on Princeton in a battle of New Jersey. Rutgers was 8-5 last season. Princeton 6-6. Rutgers has not lost to Princeton since 2013. Get that. That loss was 16-3. The Tigers would go 8-5 that year. Rutgers would finish 3-9. Rutgers favored by 8.5 in this one. I'm going to pick the Scarlet Knights to keep that streak alive for what would be the 13th straight season, I believe.
160 plus years, and I think the streak will still go. Give me Rutgers to win this one easily.
Big Bear?
The quarterback got confused on first down. He might have thought the defense was going to be in man coverage that time, but they were in zone. They fooled him and just didn't seem like he had his eyes in the right
Big Bear?
place.
Favorite.
Rutgers, y'all ain't hear me?
I didn't hear it.
No.
No, Rutgers. It's not really a question.
To the Pac-12 After Dark. San Diego State and Arizona will get Pac-12 After Dark started in Tucson. It has been rough sailing for San Diego State since they joined the ACC. Sorry, not the ACC, Pac-12. Sorry, I got distracted.
A West Coast school joining the ACC? What crazy
What?
is that?
No, never.
San Diego State, get this, are 3-15 in the Pac-12 since joining in 2024. In the same stretch, Arizona was 9-9. Both teams did not finish with in the bowl season last year. Arizona was 4-8. San Diego State was 5-7. AU favored by 6.5. I like Arizona to get their season off started strong. Danny?
You said the record was 3-15?
Within Pac-12 against Pac-12 schools last two seasons, San Diego State is 3-15.
Make it 4-15. Give me San Diego State to win this.
Big Bear?
It's in Tucson. I'm going chalk. Give me the Wildcats. Covering also.
Wrap our roundup. The number one team in the FCS, Montana. FCS AP number one, unanimously favored to win the FCS National Championship on all boards. They were the runners-up last season, if I remember correctly, losing to Campbell. And Montana looks like one of the most dangerous teams in college football yet again. I like the Grizzlies to take down Incarnate Word. Incarnate Word finished 6-6 in the FBS last season. They are now Southland members in the FCS. They actually might be favorites to win the FCS version of the Southland this year. Keep an eye on the Cardinals, though, but they're losing this one. Danny?
Yeah, with the game taking place in Montana, and I'm sure they're all going to be rocking, maybe still thinking that it's an FBS opponent, give me the Grizzlies.
Pig Bear.
Montana.
I think you cut out there.
Montana.
All right, Montana across the board. I could see Montana State making a move. I see Montana returning to the FBS. Remember that one disastrous season they had back in 2022? Now that they're back and they're gaining traction and also looking at real-life events, Montana might be on the boards. Keep an eye out for them if realignment talks ever spike again. Do we want to do our game of the week right now, or do we want to save it after our conference predictions?
Do conference predictions.
Let's start our conference predictions. We got our championship games for each respective conferences. I'm going to start in the ACC. It's do or die for Clemson, and I think they do this year. I'm picking the Clemson Tigers to win the Atlantic over Miami, taking the Coastal. Danny?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on this pick. I think Clemson definitely does win this one, but this one's going to be close. Really, really close.
Big Bear.
Fast, my friends. I don't think either of them make it to Charlotte. I think who makes it Charlotte are Georgia Tech and Florida State, and I think Georgia Tech takes it.
The rivals.
Yeah, Georgia Tech did win the ACC 2 years ago.
I mean, these are both rivals of Clemson and Miami. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously Clemson and Miami aren't rivals, but Miami and Georgia Tech have a little bit of a rivalry. Miami and Florida State hate each other. Clemson and Florida State hate each other. Clemson and Georgia Tech do not like each other. So, yeah.
Certainly. Let's move to the American. I like UMass to win the conference. I have them beating Richmond, newcomer out of the Southland. Danny?
For me, I actually have the brand newcomer Western Carolina SoCon champion beating UMass.
Big Bear.
Another former SoCon team in William and Mary to win the conference.
That's Western Carolina over William and Mary. I don't know if the first part picked up, but to the Big East. I think Louisville is winning the South. I don't think there's much of a question in that. The question is who they're playing against, and the team I'm going to pick Pitt. I think the Pitt Panthers are the ones who take it. Danny?
Not so fast, my friend. I think the South will be won with the power of the space game. Give me UCF to make it, but they lose to Pitt.
Big Bear.
Ensues. That's the only hint you're getting before I read this off. Chaos ensues and everything goes crazy. By the grace of God and tiebreakers, East Carolina wins the South, but it's an even year. The Temple Owls win the Big East.
Gotta remember the even year curse. Temple could be up there in the Big East North Division. Let's move to the Big Ten. It's top two. And I mentioned it before, but I think there's a rematch in this schedule. I think Ohio State and Penn State are the two teams who head to Indy at the end of the season. I think Ohio State wins the regular season game. They go undefeated into Indy, but give me Penn State to get the rematch. I think Penn State wins that one. Danny?
I think we're going to have a rematch here, but it's not your rematch. We're going to have a rematch of the game in Indianapolis. Give me Ohio State to beat Michigan in Indy.
Big Bear?
Michigan winning the conference, but I like them winning over Penn State.
We move to the Big 12, and I think we all agreed on this one, at least who wins the conference. I have Texas winning the conference. I think they're going to play against Nebraska, though. I like them to make it out of that division, taking on the Longhorns. I just think Texas is the most complete team in the Big 12. Danny?
I have a rematch in that same area city where I have Texas beating Oklahoma. Red River in AT&T.
Big Bear.
I have Oklahoma State bouncing back big time, but I think they'll follow Texas in AT&T Stadium to lose the conference championship game. Give me the Longhorns.
We all agree. Unanimous favorites to win the Big 12. That's going to be Texas. I'm going to move
She's
now.
from Texas, I can tell by the way we're going to get copyright striked.
Conference USA, I mentioned it. I said UAB has the best odds to make it undefeated out of any teams in the mid-major. Not so fast, my friends. If you've been paying any attention, look back to 2024. Rice was undefeated. They lost to Southern Miss in the conference championship game. 2025, Texas State was undefeated. They lost to Marshall in the conference championship game. 2026, UAB is going to be undefeated. They're going to lose the conference championship game. I'm going to have it be a revenge game. Give me Texas State over UAB in the conference championship game. Danny?
Yeah, for this one, I have UAB rematching and replaying and getting their revenge against UTSA.
Big Bear.
Marshall running the table and winning the conference overall, beating Texas State in the championship.
That being another rematch. Let's move to the Ivy League, and I feel like we can all say our pick at the same time. All right, let's do this. 1, 2, 3. Columbia. Yeah, it's really Columbia's conference to lose here, as it's been the past couple of seasons. I think it's going to be tighter than it's been the past few seasons, though, in my case. Moving to the MAC. Western Michigan is the team I like. I think they're losing in Frankfurt, but I think they're going to rebound. I think this is going to be a very strong team. Give me them over Ohio. I think Ohio wins the East. Danny?
Give me. Sorry, I'm gonna pick Miami to make the run back and make it to the championship game this time. And this time they're gonna not hold back. They're gonna beat Western so hard that their colors are gonna match their pants.
Man, they're gold. Pig Bear.
Hopkins beating Northern Illinois. I'm all in for the chaos.
Mm-hmm. J-Hop's going to run it back, you're saying. They did win the conference last year.
Yeah. I think they'll run it back.
Mm-hmm. All right, to the Missouri Valley. I'm going to take North Dakota State. I think they're the best team in the conference. I like them over Youngstown State. This has been a team that's been slowly and steadily improving the past few years. I like them having their best season yet and making the conference championship game. It'll be the first time they've ever played in the conference championship game, mind you. Danny, who are you feeling?
I too like the Bison this time, but instead of playing against Youngstown, give me the Bears to pair. I think the Bears will make a very good run, and I think Missouri State will just fall short to the Bison. It
Austin,
keeps
who
me
you
from
got?
downloading more.
Here's Underwood to throw. They'll flip it out to the back on the screen. Turning it on. Across the 50 and down
Austin, who you got?
about to the 44. Good pickup
I
on
like
that one.
a rematch of the Dakota Marker.
How many times did
I like the Jackrabbits winning in week 12 or week 13, correction, and the Bison winning in week
Because I'm trying to go get the quarterback.
in conference championship week. Give me North Dakota State to win the conference.
All right, moving to the Mountain West. I said UAB was the best chance mid-major had it going undefeated. I didn't say they had the best chance of getting to a BCS bowl. I think that's again lying with Mountain West. I like Wyoming. This was a team who gave Nevada all they could handle last year, and that team is mostly the same this season. I like Wyoming beating UNLV in the first and second matchups. I like them getting that spot and moving to the BCS. Danny.
I'm gonna pick UNLV. They are a really good roster, plus also it's a spectacular stadium. I think will be a great home venue for the conference game. But I think they're gonna be hosting the Aggies who were waiting for a new moment to rise after leaving the WAC. The Aggies who want their moment. I think New Mexico State's gonna make it, but fall short to the Rebels.
Austin, who you got?
Your game. I got UNLV beating Wyoming.
An inverse. Okay. All right, to the Pac-12. I mentioned the 4 teams I think that are going to be the teams competing for the conference title game. I think right now it's USC and Oregon I have in my conference championship game, but I have a similar thing happening with the Big Ten title game. I think Oregon gets the better of USC. I can see USC being undefeated entering that game. I think they lose to Oregon in the conference championship game. Danny.
I'm gonna have Washington beating Oregon this season. I really like Washington what they got, and they also have a really good schedule and also a lot of good times to test itself. But I'm gonna have them playing against Utah, a rematch in the conference championship game.
That's the last 2 Pac-12 champs facing off against each other. Big Bear.
I'll win in the conference. I'm really high on Southern Cal this year. I probably should add them to the teams I'm buying in on, but I like them. And you know what? Give me Boise State making a run for it, going to the SoFi.
Shades of 2022. All right, to the SEC, and I think this might be not just the most improved, but the most dangerous conference to watch out for. LSU and Alabama I have as my matchup in the conference championship game. Give me the Tigers to beat the Tide. I think LSU could be undefeated through that game, and I think they could get that win. Give me LSU.
I do think LSU's going to win the East or going to win the West, but for me, who's that coming down the track? It's a mean machine in the red and black. Ain't nothing fighter in the land than a drunk, obnoxious Georgia fan. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs. Second. Woo. Give me Georgia to win it.
Love the enthusiasm. Pig Bear, who you got?
Georgia Bulldogs to win the SEC. But you know how we got coming out of the West?
Who you got coming out of the West?
Big time.
Big time.
Big time.
Ooh.
Big time.
Picking Arkansas.
Bacon Bits will be no more. Bacon Bits will be heading to Atlanta. Mm-hmm. They won't be winning, but they won't be Bacon Bits until they get to Atlanta. They'll win the boot this year. That's my hot take also.
I feel like they got it to win the conference at that point because LSU looks super dangerous. I think the only way they're getting in is they got to beat LSU that last week. I'm going to move to the Sun Belt. I have Appalachian State winning my East. I think App State's going to be a very dangerous opponent in the East Division. I'm going to go chaos mode, though. Give me ULM to run back the West and win the conference championship this season. Louisiana Monroe, out of nowhere. Give me the Warhawks. Danny?
I'm really liking App State to win the East, but I think they're going to win it all and they're going to beat Arkansas State to win the championship
Big Bear.
in Boone.
Like, well, you know where this pick is going. I like Appalachian State to win the East and win the conference, and I like them beating South Alabama in the conference title game.
South Alabama, if anyone's going to take the West aside from ULM, it's going to be them. I think potentially though, if anyone's not if it's not going to be App State, I think it's Georgia Southern winning the East in the Sun Belt. Let's go to the WAC, and right now for me, it's a 2-horse race. It's between North Texas and Louisiana Tech. I think La Tech wins both their matchups against the Mean Green. Give me the Bulldogs of Ruston, Louisiana, the town that Neutral Milk Hotel built. Danny.
A team with a sneakily easy schedule, especially in the conference that we didn't really talk about, Sac State. I think they're going to make it and they're going to play against Louisiana Tech, who's going to beat North Texas in the season. And I think La Tech will win it, of course, but I think Sac State will at least make it.
Austin.
You know what? Flip it. Pacific versus Tarleton State.
I don't know where the laugh track
not
came
elaborate.
from, but
I will not elaborate further. I was trying to bleep myself out, even though I said nothing.
You're picking Pacific to run it back over Tarleton.
Yes.
They did win the conference last year. It makes sense. All right, let's talk about our BCS championship picks. I believe Pasadena is the site this year. Correct me if I'm wrong, Danny.
Well, I understand what the quarterback's trying to do. He's trying to get it to his
One question. I know it's in the West, but is it Pasadena or is it Vegas? I think it's Vegas.
It might
Maybe
be
we
Vegas.
should
I
have
don't
it
remember.
Vegas. I think it should be Vegas.
All right. I was also thinking Atlanta, but I wasn't really remembering.
Vegas it is, yeah.
Right now, my conference champions are the two conference champions I think that are going to make it to this point. I already mentioned Ohio State, USC. I think they're both losing their conference championship games. I think that leaves the top two conference champions. I think it's going to be LSU. I think it's going to be Texas. I think Texas is my number one. LSU is my number two. And I think LSU gets the better of the former. I think the Tigers are your 2026 national champs. Remember, I picked them to be number two last season. I had Oregon over LSU. Maybe this is LSU's time to shine. Give me the Tigers, Danny.
Yeah, for me, for my number one, I'm actually gonna have Washington making as my number one. They play against a really tough schedule, and if with that tough schedule, Washington has to be the one to come out on top. But I'm gonna have Georgia as my number two, and I think Texas is gonna be number three, and probably Ohio State is my number four if we were to have a hypothetical playoff, if that ever existed. But
That's never going
I
to
would
exist.
have,
Like that's
yeah, that doesn't
happen.
exist. Yeah, when will that ever happen? As a quote from Shrek, like that'll happen. But instead of the number one, give me the dogs to win it all for the SEC.
Big Bear.
As much as it pains me to say it, Georgia will win the national championship. I think Georgia is the best team in the country. I don't think it's particularly close. I think they'll beat USC by 2 touchdowns in the national championship.
And we have been sent home. And after that behemoth of an episode, gentlemen, welcome to the 2KU season. We're here. Let's get started.
And we have a surprise.
Let's get this going. We have one more thing to send us home. And Danny has a bit of an introduction for us. Why don't you take it away?
The 2KU, we have always done games featuring the FBS. And of course, we had many different options to choose from here. We had games in Brazil, the international games, we had Pac-12 matchup. But this time, for the first time ever in 2KU history, we have an FCS matchup. And of course, with the FBS Week 0 being the FCS Week 1, we had tons of options and we had different things to look at. But there was one that caught our eye. We're nestled in the sunshine and humidity of Tallahassee, Florida. In prime time, we are going to have the number 9 Florida A&M Rattlers, who's historically one of the best HBCU matchups, one of the best HBCU teams there have been, will be hosting the number 7 Gardner-Webb Bulldogs.
The Running
It's the
Bulldogs.
Big South. It's the Big South against the MEAC. South Carolina against Florida. It's going to
North
be
Carolina.
North Carolina against Florida.
They're
Sorry.
right on the border.
And
They to be fair, they are like
mm,
right on the border.
North Carolina against Florida. Sunshine and more in the South. It's a top 10 matchup in the FCS in Tallahassee, Florida.
This may be the biggest matchup the FCS has all season, or one of them at least. Gardner-Webb. They have been steadily the best team in the SoCon these past few seasons. After being pretty bad through the 2010s, they've really rebounded the past few years, continuing to be playoff regulars, making deep runs every year. Logan Taylor is quarterback for this Gardner-Webb squad. The Running Bulldog QB is the favorite for the Walter Payton Award this year. Meanwhile, on the other side, FAMU, preseason MEAC favorites for the third time in 5 years, did not make the MEAC championship. They lost out thanks to Hampton. However, that was secretly a blessing in disguise for the squad, as they made a pretty promising run in the tournament, or in the NCAA tournament that year. Gardner-Webb is favored by 2.5 in Tallahassee, but something about this FAMU crowd, this historically loud HBCU audience, makes me think I like the Rattlers in this one. Give me Florida A&M to get the win. Manny.
I think we're going to hear the band coming down, the historic Rattler Band, playing the song. So, audiences, please make sure you remain in your seat. Rattlers, give me Florida A&M to win this one.
Pig Bear, send us home.
Gentlemen, I grew up about 45 minutes away from Gardner-Webb University. It's in the beautiful foothills of Cleveland County, North Carolina. It is a cool place to be. Ain't one of this football game. They're not going to Tallahassee and beating Florida A&M. Tallahassee, it gets rocking. The band, the atmosphere is awesome. I think Florida A&M overtake. Obviously, they win and they overtake the spread by twofold at minimum.
It's going to be an exciting matchup. Fun fact: you technically can't have Florida A&M in College Football 27 due to some sort of copyright thing. However, we found our ways. And we hope you find our way next Saturday, August 29th. It's going to be at, I believe it'll be 9 p.m. Eastern. That'll be 6 p.m. Pacific. As we kick our season off. Gardner-Webb, Florida A&M, an FCS taste of college football. And we already have our Week 1 matchup decided, but you won't find that out until the 2K Weekly after that.
And we also got our Week 2 matchup settled, but that's also not going to be revealed just yet.
Mm-hmm. We have almost everything ready to go. But that'll do it for us here today. Almost 2 hours of college football content today. I think that's our longest stream yet, or longest episode yet of the podcast. Hopefully, the rest of these won't be that long. I'm going to let my voice rest for a little bit, but thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you next Saturday at 9. So long from the 2KU.